Hello, hello, hello. So,
Hello.
so excited to have folks here tonight. We're going to have such a fun stream. We have so many different guests, like Emily, who is sitting next to, oh, I always do it the wrong side on StreamYard. Emily, who is sitting next to me, I forgot to do the flip, who are going to be on here tonight talking about faith and OCD. So just as an intro, as folks come on, we are having all these members of our faith and OCD task force for the IOCDF. And this is the awesome team that has created the Faith and OCD Conference and Resource Center and does just so many amazing things throughout the year around scrupulosity, but also OCD across faith traditions. So as folks pop on, feel free to tell us who you are and say hello, where you're from, all the things. And we're going to dive in just a second. But first, I'm going to read our disclaimer so we can get into all of our awesome guests today. So this live stream is educational and is not intended to replace therapy. For treatment-related questions, please work with your provider or contact a local clinician. You can use the IOCDF's online resource directory at iocdf.org/findhelp to locate a trained clinician near you. The International OCD Foundation is not a crisis hotline. If you're in crisis or if you're ever feeling suicidal or unsafe, please go to your local emergency room or call 911 or the 988 Suicide in Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988. You can also access online at www.988lifeline.org. And finally, we want to create a safe space for everyone. We want to be kind and respectful because at the end of the day, this is a community. We're coming off of OCD Awareness Week, and we are here in this awesome community to support one another. But a note that this is being broadcast and is being recorded and will be on several social media platforms. So we want to make sure you keep that in mind as you comment and as we support one another. Oh, I am seeing folks pop in here. I see Nathan, I see Matthew, I see Bailey and Michael and Kylie and Spence, so many awesome folks. So please continue to say hi, and we are so glad you're here. I am going to go ahead and dive in with Emily because we have a ton of guests who are going to pop on every 7 minutes tonight. Jumping in just to give y'all kind of a little flow of how tonight will work, we have our amazing Faith and OCD Task Force members here to continue our OCD Awareness Week theme of My OCD Truth. We're talking about this through the lens of faith and OCD. If folks who are listening have questions, feel free to still drop those into the comments and we will do our best to get to those also. So, Emily, so excited that you're here.
I'm excited to see you. It's so unexpected.
So unexpected, right? Well, I would love, as we jump in, for you to talk a little bit about, as an IOCDF task force member, why is faith and OCD work so important to you?
Oh gosh. I mean, I think it's just something that's always been my interest, is the really short, boring answer probably. But I think part of this is I feel like this is all about cultural responsiveness and valuing diversity. And I think oftentimes religion is this forgotten diversity variable that we, for some reason, avoid in treatment or don't integrate fully into treatment. And I think adding in a diversity variable such as religion and understanding how somebody was raised, their upbringing, their belief system, all factors into the complex presentation of OCD or any other comorbid disorders. And so I think it's so fascinating to me too, that when we think about faith and OCD, it doesn't just have to be scrupulosity. And I think that's another thing that I really love about working with just OCD in general, but also the component of faith with it, is that faith concerns present with any presentation, right? Or faith questions, faith dilemmas that people feel like they have, questions that are very, very important. And so I really think it's so important that we just examine them, even if it's not scrupulosity, just examining them and seeing how can we factor this into treatment so that we can help them build a support system, so that we can encourage them. And so this can be a motivating factor. I can't hear you.
I'm muted. Sorry. Everyone knows these are always perfectly imperfect, and there was a lot of noise upstairs, so I muted.
I got really anxious that I went deaf temporarily, and I was like,
no, my cats were literally sprinting up and down above me, and it was making all kinds of noise. But anyway, I love that you share that, and I know we're doing a training for clinicians coming up on cultural responsiveness and treatment around faith, which is super, super cool.
It's gonna be fun. I'm excited about it.
So me too. And I mean, I think we do, of course, IOCDF, lots of work around faith and OCD. And last week we spent so much time on OCD truths. But as an OCD provider, I know you have shared this a little bit through OCD Awareness Week, but in a little bit more depth, what is a faith and OCD treatment truth that you would like to share with the community tonight?
Oh gosh. I feel like that's a big question. I feel like I've used all of my truths this week. Um, I feel like I have a two-part one naturally because that's just who I am. I think OCD will always throw questions of faith at you no matter what, and it's always going to be a question that you can't answer. Those questions aren't reflective of you, and even if you find an answer, that will not be enough for your OCD. And so, I guess in that sense, my hope for everybody would be to not let fear that OCD creates, ambiguity and uncertainty that OCD creates keep you from living the life that you dreamed of because you're trying to solve these answers that don't have or these questions that don't have an answer. And I think that's probably the biggest OCD truth because I've sat with so many people and watched them mull over and have three different answers, and none of them are good enough for OCD, and none of them will be. And I think accepting that, you know what, this feels really uncomfortable. This feels really icky for me right now. And I want to live my life. And I think that's probably my biggest OCD truth is that nothing's going to be good enough for your OCD. So live the life you dream of, not the life OCD dreams of.
I love that so much, and I think OCD has a very different life planned for us. And I mean, to your point, it feels really, really scary. And I would love to hear more about that. I've had this conversation actually a few times today but it feels so scary this time. It feels so incredibly real. But what if I just can figure it out? What if I can figure it out and then I don't have to go through this anymore? So, how would you respond to that?
Wow. I think OCD would find something else to question you on. Like, I don't think it would be done. And I think, and that's not to say like don't have hope. Like, you can completely OCD is treatable. You can use all the tools for any OCD subtype presentation. It's more so that do you want to continue to live a life where it's dictated by what OCD is questioning you for? Like, I just imagine that's so much energy drained when you could be doing things you value. And so, yeah, maybe that is how you want to live your life. But I can't imagine that that's fully your values because I would question what are you missing out on as a result of trying to find the answers that you so want? Are you missing time with your family? Are you missing time with your friends? Did you stop painting? Did you stop playing music? Like what is being taken away by OCD? Because we didn't have that time before. So that must mean that our world got smaller.
Mhm.
I don't
I
know.
love
How would you respond?
No, I mean, I love that, and I think OCD, it always makes our world smaller, and it becomes I'm so glad you said that because I think it feels each time it feels so scary, and it feels protective as we go through, and I'm sure folks listening can
Mhm.
relate to this in the context of faith and OCD and beyond of it feels like, "But I have to do these things to stay safe and to reclaim my life. I have to figure this out," and the reality is it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where it's actually you handing your life over to OCD, right? And your life getting
Mhm.
smaller as opposed
Mhm.
to bigger. And you highlighted that even with that fact, we have a lot of hope. So I would love for you
Mhm.
to offer folks listening tonight just some words of hope as they move through the treatment journey.
Gosh, I know it's so hard. Even that first initial step can feel like the biggest step you've ever taken. Words of hope. Um, OCD can make you feel like you're not capable and that you're not worthy and that you can't outsmart it. Um, and with the right treatment and with the right support group and with the right people cheering you on and leading you in the direction of your values, you can live a life without OCD dictating what you're doing. And I know that may not seem big right now, but once you find your support people and once you find that treatment, it will mean a world of difference in your life. And
Mhm.
so just keep pushing past those really tough moments, those tough exposures, and give yourself compassion, because just acknowledging that treatment is something that's needed is massive. And like, kudos to you. I want you to give yourself all the kudos in the world, because anyone doing ERP deserves it, because they're trying to take their life back.
Mhm. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I see Matthew resonating with that in the chat. Oh, I see Nikki too. Hi, Nikki.
Oh, hi everyone.
And will do. You deserve to reclaim your lives, and we are doing
Yeah.
this together.
We'll be here cheering you on too. We'll
So
send you cheerleading videos of like, do the
yeah.
exposure.
And that's why we're here. I mean, you're hearing right now from a psychologist who is pretty amazing in treating scrupulosity. She lives very close to me and is a good friend and is amazing in this area and works with a lot of faith traditions. And I think it's really cool to see folks who, might be navigating ERP with you and might be encouraging you to do some hard things are also cheering you on and want you to get better and be able to
Yeah.
reclaim your faith.
And I will do the hard things with you. I think a lot of people on this task force will be like, I will do it alongside you. If you need me to support you, if you need to see me do it first, I will do the hard thing with you, so that we can get you to a place you want to be.
Mhm. Awesome.
So,
Well, thank you so much
well,
for
it was
being here with us.
lovely, Katie, and I loved just being here.
I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you so much, Emily. And y'all say goodbye to Emily. We are going to wave goodbye to Emily, and we are going to welcome Dr. Patrick McGrath onto the stream with us.
Wait a
Hello.
minute. I was ordering Uber Eats. How did I end up here? What is this? I thought I was
What?
getting my food wait, am I on a webinar? Holy gee. Hey, hi. Oh my, hi
You?
everyone. Wow, this blew my
Yes.
mind. What do you know? How serendipitous. I'm webinar. I'll delay dinner and we'll chat. That'll be great. Yeah, sounds great.
Well, thank you for delaying your Uber Eats. I don't know that I would do that to
Yeah,
chat
sure.
with me. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Why not? Yeah.
Well, I think lots of folks here know that you do such amazing work leading all things as the chief clinical officer at OCD and also with us at the IOCDF as a part of so many different things. But tonight here as a member of the Faith and OCD Task Force, where you have helped build so many initiatives. And wanted to hear from you tonight, just to start off, why is faith and OCD work important to you as someone who treats OCD?
Because people confuse it all the time as a faith problem when it is not a faith problem. It is an OCD problem. That's number one. And number two, I'm passionate about letting people know that you don't have to have a faith to have religious scrupulosity. I treat lots of atheists, agnostics, people who are questioning, wondering, who have this as well too. That even goes further to prove that this is not a faith problem. This is a what if problem, is really what we're dealing with. And that can hit things in so many ways, from the most devout person to the most avid atheist you'll meet in the world.
I'm so glad that you always highlight this for us, because I think it's so important. Sometimes I think, and you can speak to this because I know you've done a lot of writing for us on this topic too, but sometimes I feel like there's almost kind of this stigma for folks around, wait, is it possible for me not to be a part of a faith tradition and have religious scrupulosity or have this subtype? And yeah, it is. So, I mean, I wonder, we have a few minutes here, but just, do you mind highlighting a little bit about what might that look like? What are some what ifs that might come up for folks?
You know, I've worked with people who are, say, confident in their faith, but then wonder if maybe they picked the wrong one. So they say prayers of all the other faiths every night as well, too. I'm reminded of one of my favorite South Park episodes where all sorts of different faith traditions are standing outside of the gates of heaven, and St. Peter comes out and says, "It's the Mormons," and they're all like, "Woohoo!" And everyone else is like, "Oh, darn, oh, shoot, man," and so. I'm a bit sarcastic. I love a little humor in these things as well too. But
you? No, not you.
yeah, I know it's shocking. I know it's shocking. But there were so many people of a various faith who were identifying with scrupulosity. And then I was meeting people who weren't of a faith who said, I don't know what I am because I can't have religious scrupulosity. I'm not religious. And I said, well, there's absolutely nothing that says that you can't have it, right? You for sure can. So in what Emily was saying earlier about, inclusiveness, we had to find a place for people who were suffering from OCD, and for those who, on one hand, because it's the doubting disorder, who could say, I know that there's nothing out there, but what if I'm wrong, right? The OCD comes into that because that's what OCD does. So why wouldn't OCD pick on somebody who was an atheist as much as somebody who's highly religious as well?
Absolutely. Well, and I think this probably feeds in a little bit to some of your OCD treatment truths, but I wonder, is there a faith and OCD treatment truth that you would like to share with the community coming off of Awareness Week?
You're not going to pray your way out of this. You're not going to research your way out of this. And you're not going to get ice to get you out of this as well, too, because OCD is insatiable, never full, and it always wants more. It's kind of like the plant from Little Shop of Horrors, feed me, Seymour, feed me more, Seymour, and feed me more, Seymour. It never eats enough, right? So if your goal is to give OCD everything, you'll always be a little less than what it wants, and therefore it will beat you down and punish you for never giving it enough. So to me, the goal is not to fulfill all the wishes of OCD, which are unfulfillable. The goal is to say, hey, OCD, I already know that I'm not going to be able to do it, so it's not even worth my time to try. I'm going to go live my life. You color in the background, and I'll do what I want to do.
I love that. And I actually love that you made a Little Shop of Horrors reference. I've done a couple.
I figured you would enjoy that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't know how you knew that about me, but no, that was spot on.
I know lots of things, Kate. So.
I know you know too much about me. We'll leave that away from public live streams. But I love that, and just the fact that we are never going to satisfy it. And I know I was talking about that with Emily. I've heard that from a lot of folks today. Well, what if I can just figure it out? And it's like, well, that's not going to happen. We're going to keep going down that hole. And yet there's hope. So I wonder if there are a few words of hope that you might offer for folks here today on the journey.
Yeah. Healing doesn't come from satisfying OCD. Healing comes from living the life you want to live and not OCD's life. And, I'll echo what Emily said there too. And I've been saying that all along as well too. Just because you think healing comes from a certain area because OCD has convinced you of that, doesn't mean it's true, because OCD is a liar. So to be healed the way OCD wants you to be healed means you're living a lie. But to be healed the way that you can be healed, which doesn't involve the way OCD wants to be healed, is your truth. And that's the truth we want you to move toward.
That's kind of awesome. And I feel like needs to be on the cover of a book. So please, please caption that for yourself. That's perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And everyone can wave goodbye to the amazing Dr. Patrick McGrath, who I know will be back with us. Hey! We're gonna bring on Valerie in just a second.
Hello, Katie.
So this is our amazing lead advocate, Valerie Andrews, who has been just really a founding member of everything the IOCDF has done around faith and OCD, and her vision is what made the conference possible. Yes, Matthew, every time I see Val, that's the immediate response. It's like, Val is here. And
thank you.
I know this work is so important to you in so many ways. So I'd love to just start with, as a task force member and just as someone with lived experience, why is faith and OCD work so important to you?
I think for me, it's so important because for so many years, I felt convicted for having an illness that wasn't perceived as a illness, that I had an issue with my faith, everything but having a disorder. And I think it prevented me from growing spiritually, not only growing spiritually, but feeling comfortable and feeling worthy. And I wasn't a bad Christian, and my faith wasn't weak. All of those things that was holding me back. And I felt so alone in my journey for the longest because, as I say, sitting in those pews, people don't realize after we leave the church, we have another life. We have to keep, living, and that for so many of us, I know for me, going to church or the building was where I needed to get more support in order to allow me to stay hopeful during the days I weren't, in service. And so it was just my own lived experience of growing up and feeling condemned by the church as opposed to feeling embraced by the church in general. I've had good experience and bad experiences, but that was my catalyst for just wanting to feel worthy of being a Christian, and recognize that my disorder was a disorder, no different than someone that broke a leg or someone that had high blood pressure. All the things that are acceptable within the spiritual body. So that's kind of why I have the passion for it, because I know I'm not alone, and I know it exists. I know that OCD, along with other anxieties, are in that pew, sitting there every Sunday, like I was feeling convicted, and that's not a good place to be, and it's not necessary. So that's why.
I love that. It's so funny, as somebody who has often struggled with that and has struggled with feeling like not enough. Actually, even just this isn't necessary is so comforting to me today. So thank you for offering that to us. And you've, I know, shared and thought a lot about your OCD truth throughout Awareness Week. And in the context of faith and OCD, I wonder what some of those truths are for you.
Well, one of the truths when it comes to me, from my spiritual point of view, was to learn that there was a very popular saying. It's still very popular within the Black community, Black church. I'm too blessed to be stressed. Well, I had to learn to turn that around and say I'm blessed despite my stress, because I know greater is He that is in me than that stress which is in the world. And so once I started allowing myself not to convict myself, and I'm so big now on when I talk with saying, we as believers should be known by our love, not our conviction, not our judgment. And that is one thing my OCD has taught me, not to judge. It taught me to have empathy and compassion. That does not mean I have to agree with you or you have to agree with me. It's just that I want to be known by my love, because God is love. But that's my OCD truth, that it doesn't matter what age you are, what color you are, what gender you are, what religious beliefs you have. OCD does not care. It don't care. It's not going to discriminate. So if we add that extra burden from our religious groups or support groups, they're just feeding our OCD. So that's what my OCD truth is. It doesn't care, regardless.
I love that. And it is, OCD just latches on to anything and everything that's the most important to us. And in terms of showing love, you are a beautiful example of that, which is why as soon as you came on, everyone was like, oh, it's Val, because you show love in all that you do. And I know always have such beautiful words of hope. So as we close our time together, I wonder what final words of hope you might have for those on the journey right now.
Well, I always love how you talk about um, therapy and religion are not exclusive. I have this T-shirt. I should have worn it that says Jesus plus therapy can equal healing, and that's my hope that we are worthy. Uh, we don't get to choose our cross to bear, just like someone else doesn't. So it's helpful from a person living with OCD that people remember that I didn't choose, to have OCD, but uh, I'm learning how to use it to glorify Him. And so that is my hope that you can live a religious driven life and not feel guilty or convicted. If you're feeling that, raise your hand and go, hey, I'm part of this flock too. We're not the lost sheep. We're part of the flock. So embrace us. And that's all we ask. There's always hope because we're living our life with the hope that we know from our own spiritual growth that is possible. It's possible to live a faith-driven life and feel fulfilled, even though you still have to constantly be aware, of that OCD. I hate following Patrick because I love what he said. This is not about praying it away or wishing it away or, trying to think it away. It's not. It's just about embracing where we are, embracing us as people, having some compassion and understanding without judgment. And like I said, you don't ever have to believe what I believe. That's not my purpose on this journey. My purpose is just to be transparent and, like you say, point all glory back to Him. So that's my words of hope that, until we leave here, there's hope.
Thank you for your words of hope, Val, and love, Lana. I know you said goodnight. We are not ending. We have a bunch more task force members on. We're gonna wave goodbye to our dear friend Val, who just offered us so much hope as we bring on Annabella Hagen. And so excited to have you here. Welcome.
Hi, how you doing, Katie?
I am doing
I'm excited
wonderful.
to be here.
And Annabella is an amazing OCD specialist and member of the task force and author of one of my favorite books that I probably, I do have it. right here, Imperfectly Good, around faith and OCD and ACT, but would love to dive in with you and hear from you. Why is this work around faith and OCD so important to you?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. The first thing I want to say is that we know faith can make a big difference when we experience adversity. And we all experience adversity, therefore faith is important if you're a religious person. And if you love your faith and you love to connect with God and you have OCD, chances are you're going to end up with scrupulosity, OCD. And as a clinician, I have seen the pain that a lot of people experience when the very value that they care about is being targeted by OCD. And so it's very conflicting. And a lot of the times, these thoughts, these feelings, these doubts come and they blame themselves for them. And so for me, it is important to continue to spread the word about what scrupulosity OCD is, because a lot of people are still suffering in silence, believing that is their flaws, their fault, and they a lot of time attribute it to their unworthiness, and they don't know it's OCD. And lately, I have been seeing a lot of doubts, not only about themselves, but literally questioning whether God is real. And that can be even more painful. And again, it doesn't make sense, and they know it doesn't make sense, but they just wish they didn't have this doubt. And for me, the work that I am doing is so that I can I can help people recognize that, first of all, it's normal to have the doubts, but OCD makes them stickier and magnified.
And you've done such a beautiful job highlighting that for sufferers and also for faith leaders to be able to recognize this in the community. And I wonder, in light of the work that you do, what is your faith in OCD treatment truth that you might like to share with the community following Awareness Week?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. And one of them that I always talk about it with my clients is to remember that your thoughts and your feelings are not permanent. They change. They're like the weather. You know, the weather changes. It gets rainy, it gets hot, it gets stormy. And what I would say, my OCD truth is that whenever you have OCD storms, to remember that you can be the sky. The sky up there looking down the weather. It's stormy, it's rainy, it's snowing, it's thundering. And just like these natural elements are something we cannot control, thoughts and feelings and doubts, including, you cannot control. But you can learn to observe them, to become the observer of these emotions and thoughts, and recognize that they shall pass. And literally, if you don't do anything about them and be able to notice them, they will come and go. And so my OCD truth is that become an observer of your thoughts and feelings, and remember that you are not those internal events.
I love that. I absolutely love that metaphor, and just so beautiful. And you're already offering us hope, but I would love to hear from you if you have any final words of hope tonight for our listeners on their journey.
Well, I like to connect that to my hope is that one thing that we know is permanent is that God loves you, and that never changes. So God's love is permanent. And also that you are a child of God, and OCD cannot take that away from you. So remember that those things are permanent, and that also when we talk about focusing on the process, not the outcome, it means that maybe you want to have a curious mindset, to be curious about what will happen if I do something different today instead of my usual compulsion. Have a curious mindset and remember your values. And again, the very thing that you care about the most is also the very thing that can help you in your journey.
I love that. Thank you, Annabella. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we're going to remain curious tonight, and we're going to wave goodbye to the amazing Annabella as we bring on Mubina. And I want to get curious. Yeah, Matthew, I would answer your question. Your question is 731. I'm not sure. I don't fully understand. So feel free to re-ask, and I will answer. Mubina, welcome.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to see your face and to be here.
I'm happy to see your face too. And you do such amazing work in the OCD community as a whole, but have also been such an advocate for scrupulosity within the Muslim community. And I know this work is deeply important to you. So we'd love to hear about why work around faith and OCD is so significant in your life.
Right. It is very significant to me. I started this work just by chance, and I fell in love with the work itself. And then when I noticed that client after client was coming to me with scrupulosity, I just had so much of a passion for this sub-theme, in addition to the work in general. And the message that I just want to get out there to the general community and the Muslim community is that OCD is OCD is OCD, as you say, Katie. It is not a faith issue. It will latch on to the thing that you care about the most, which might be your salvation, or what happens to you in the afterlife, God's pleasure with you. OCD, I've been saying lately that it's like a really high quality scanner. It will scan your environment and yourself and say, hey, this thing that you care about, is there a problem there?
Mm.
And then if it thinks that there might be a small chance that there is a problem, it will latch on. And it does not mean that you don't pray enough. It does not mean that God doesn't love you. It does not mean that you have too many bad deeds and you're a lost cause. It just means that you have OCD. I'm also passionate because of what Valerie mentioned. It really just touched me when she said that she at some point felt like she was condemned by her church and that the church didn't embrace her for the struggles she was going through. And at some point she recognized that it was a mental affliction and how freeing that was. So I'm on a mission to try to reduce the stigma of OCD in faith communities.
Thank you. Thank you, Mubina. And we just had a question come in too about scrupulosity. And I know we've done some scrupulosity 101s, but not to put you on the spot or anything, but you're on here with us now. So I wonder if folks are asking, well, what is religious scrupulosity? Do you mind just giving us a little rundown of what that is?
Right. So I'll give my perspective, and that.
By the way, your definition is always beautiful. So
thank you. So religious scrupulosity is a word that we use for a theme of OCD. Okay, so there's contamination OCD when people have worries about, not being clean and spreading germs, and there's harm OCD when people have their OCD latches onto the fear of harming themselves or others. Scrupulosity is, some people think, is a theme of OCD, which is when your OCD latches onto the theme of religion or morality. So within that, people have obsessions about their belief practices, about the belief itself. Do I believe enough? Am I committing blasphemy? Do I believe in the right thing? So religious scrupulosity is an umbrella term to catch all of that.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So I hope that for folks who are looking for answers in that, I hope that answers your question. And our actually last Faith and OCD Roundtable, we did a Scrupulosity 101 that you can head back over to as well if you want to dive further into that. And also I see, Matthew, the answer to your question. Yeah, so folks are more than welcome to ask questions. We have short time with everybody, but I'll try to weave them in just like we just did. So if folks have questions, go ahead and ask. And Mubina, you've highlighted this a little bit, and I have to say, you always have such a calming presence when you come on here. So I know this will be full of love and hope. I wonder what your faith and OCD treatment truth is as a provider.
Right. Thank you. I don't know if my kids would tell you that I have a calming presence, but I'm glad that comes across here. So my OCD truth is that OCD is a tricky little beast, right? And I say that with a ton of compassion because it is also an unhelpful helper. It is just trying to keep you safe, but it's not doing it in a way that's really helpful. And it will use every trick in the book to try to get you to pay attention to it. When you stop paying attention to it, it might use new tricks and you might not be sure if it's OCD or not. And guess what? That's another trick. So my OCD truth is to learn to recognize that sense of urgency that comes with OCD, learn to recognize that sense of problem solving. I need to fix this problem. I need to find certainty that is really across the board with any theme of OCD. And if you need help with it, you can find a provider that can help you figure that out.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And for the support that you offer folks in figuring that out. And especially Amy in the chat, thank you so much for sharing that you did not feel that same level of love and support and affirmation. And that's really hard. And we hope you hear from us tonight as folks with OCD and faith leaders and clinicians that we are here with you on the journey and want to offer hope, which is what I want to close with asking Mubina for her time with us tonight. Or what words of hope would you offer the community in the midst of this journey?
Right. I mean, I'll just use that example to say that there are people out there who are going through this or who work with people who are going through this, who understand and know you. And if you're in a place to find us, then reach out, find the IOCDF, find people to reach out to. And if not, just know we're here. We've got videos up, and you can look through them and maybe just feel seen and heard.
Thank you. Thank you, Mubina. Thank you for helping folks to feel seen and heard tonight, and for being here. And everybody can wave bye to Mubina as we bring on our next awesome Faith and OCD Task Force member, who I think will be on. Oh, there we go. It's a Caitlin.
Hi.
Hi, Caitlin. So this is Dr. Caitlin Claggett Woods, who is an amazing psychologist in Canada. And I'm glad, Ottawa, yes. Why are we always so confused in the US about different areas of Canada? I'm going to stop trying to say things off the cuff and just go right into why you do this work. And I have to actually know, before I do that, I want to say for just a second, you've been really with our task force since the beginning, and even on your own in Ottawa have created programming to train clergy around faith and OCD, because this is something so important, so significant, so misunderstood. So tell us a little bit about why you're so passionate about this work.
I am so passionate about this work because faith is so important to people. Their engagement with God and where they're with their religious communities is just kind of, I have no words to say above beyond, like, this is so important to me, and like my being as a person and my community, like it means so much to people. And these people are suffering. Folks with OCD in these religious communities are suffering so greatly, and they don't know what they're experiencing. And the leaders that they turn to also don't know what they're experiencing. So I am very passionate about this work so that we can bridge the gap between this person who is going to the people that they trust and admire for support, and so that those people can know how to direct that person in a way that would allow them recovery.
Thank you. And I mean, along those lines, I know you probably have a lot of faith and OCD truths, but what are some of your faith and OCD treatment truths that you would like to share with the community following Awareness Week?
So I'll ask you an interesting question, Katie. Let's say that I were an alien from another planet and I had never heard of God. So here I am descending from another planet, and I say, Katie, what is this God? Describe.
Yeah. Gosh, from my faith tradition, and just, I would say a being that has created and loves and is all powerful, all loving, all good, that continues to walk with us in the most difficult times and also in the most beautiful times, and offers us opportunity to create beauty out of brokenness.
Okay. This God of which you speak, do they want you to have OCD?
No.
No. Okay. And yet I have heard people say that, it's like doing therapy is off limits or not putting trust in God. And yet if this God of which you speak does not want you to have OCD, then why would he or they deny you engaging in the treatment that would make you better? And that is my convoluted way of essentially saying God does not want you to have OCD. And oftentimes people feel like, God will save me, God will deliver me, or the idea of doing this exposure and response prevention, like, what if I offend God? All of these different fears that we have. And yet, does God want you to have OCD? And if not, then why would he deny you the treatment that would bring you recovery?
I love that. And I have to go off script for a second to say I was having this conversation that now I'm curious what you think about this. I got a question earlier today around, why won't God just give me reassurance that my fear isn't true? Why won't God just tell me? And I'll tell you how I responded. I'm curious. I said something to the effect of, because you are so loved, and why would God offer you something that continues to feed your OCD? And also if you were given that reassurance, even from God, we probably would find a way to poke holes in that and question that. But I'm curious how you'd answer that, because I think it's right along the lines of what you're talking about.
I mean, I think I would answer like, God has given you that answer. You just need to trust. right? You have been given that assurance that God loves you. You know, you have been given that assurance that God loves and forgives those that turn to him. And so it's not that God's not telling you, it's that you're not listening.
Thank you. Well, and you're already offering us hope tonight, but I would wonder if there are some words of hope that you might offer to folks that, I don't know, are having trouble hearing that right now, or are struggling with, how do I continue to step forward in faith as I navigate treatment?
And just like my previous, why wouldn't God want you to engage in life-saving treatment? My words of hope again relate to pursuing treatment, and it comes with a story. So I was working with one of my clients who was just very, very terrified of being on a bridge because he's, what if I lose control and I jump off? So our exposure that day, we met at a place in the community. It was a Home Depot. And we walked over to a nearby bridge, kind of looked over at the cars going down below. And we were there for a couple minutes and he panicked and he said, I have to go, I have to go, I have to go. And he started backing away. And I looked at him and I was like, wait here with me. Just wait. I know that you can do this. Wait here with me. And he stood and he waited. And as occurs, the distress does pass, right? It peaks and it passes. And he stayed, even though he was telling me desperately that he had to go. There was no choice whatsoever. He had to go. He stayed when I asked him to. And then he got this wonderful experience of having proved to himself that he can do something so incredibly difficult. So we process this. We're walking back to the Home Depot. We sit for a few minutes. And then I get in my car and I'm like, what's this like scratchy thing? And it turns out that I had carried this piece of wood with me. It like stuck to my butt and I walked to my car with it. And I have this piece of wood from the day that we met at the Home Depot. And so given what I took away from his incredible bravery and his incredible commitment to, even though his mind was screaming at him to leave, that he stayed, I wrote on it that people can win. When people think that it is a losing game, that there is never any hope for things moving forward, this experience was direct proof that people can win. So I keep this on my wall now because it is maybe a reminder for myself if I feel like, I'm not helping people well enough, but also something to share with the clients that walk in my door and things feel hopeless. I remind that people can win.
Thank you, Caitlin. That is a beautiful reminder for me, and I know for so many folks here tonight. And thank you for bringing and sharing that, and for all of the amazing work that you do.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you. So we're going to wave goodbye to Caitlin as we bring on our next Faith and OCD Task Force member, Kristen, who is going to be joining us, who we are so excited to have on here tonight to share a little bit. Hi, Kristen.
Hey, Katie.
And
hey,
I know,
everybody.
Yeah. And we know Kristen is also incredibly passionate as a clinician about this work around faith and OCD and helping individuals to feel affirmed as they navigate treatment, where this can be really challenging and yet so important. So I wonder for you, in the work that you do with your clients, why is this work around faith and OCD so significant and so important?
Yeah, I love this question. And I thought a lot about it when you sent it out. And there were a few things that came up. I think for a long time as a mental health provider and someone who is a spiritual person, my faith has always been important to me. I could see this distinct disconnect between, faith-based religions being loving and accepting and caring. And when it came to mental health, this lack of education, and specifically with OCD, this lack of understanding both for those who are inside the church, but the people who have OCD who are suffering outside, right? And some of them suffering inside the church still. So the task force and other initiatives like this are really important because I think it can be so freeing to educate people who care. They want to love on other human beings and they want to be helpful and help just pointing them in the right direction. And, you know, not just with OCD, a lot of times people with OCD have depression and anxiety and so many other things going on. And education can be incredibly helpful. And so bridging that gap, I think, is huge. It's so important. And reducing the stigma of overall just any mental health disorder, right? Like people are in pain and we want to help them and love on them. And and helping the church do that universally in a better way.
I love that. Helping the church love on people, where I love that so much. And I mean, for you, I'm assuming that's part of kind of your treatment truth and what's so important for folks. But I wonder what your faith and OCD treatment truth is that you'd like to share with the community.
So I've actually heard several of them already. So listen, there is a wonderful song. I haven't heard it in a while called Fear is a Liar. And I love that because I'm like, listen, OCD is a liar. It will lie to you and hijack your life. And we want to help people get back to the place where they can pursue their faith and be free in their faith. But the other thing is that there is treatment, like there's help available. It's effective. And it can, again, like just allow people to get back to living and pursuing their faith in the way that they desire. And they don't have to be stuck in that OCD bubble and they can't get out of it. And helping people just get back to that place where faith can be a source of strength instead of a source of a burden. And the OCD, like your thoughts do not define you. They do not tell me who you are. So those are some of my just treatment truths, faith truths, etc.
I love that. And I agree with Matthew in the chat. You are awesome, Kristen, and you can feel your love shining through that. And again, you also are already offering words of hope for us, but would love to hear just any additional messages of hope for anyone on here tonight who might be struggling or navigating their OCD journey.
Absolutely. Your faith and OCD do not have to be mutually exclusive. There are so many providers across the globe, across the US, who can help you, right? And they can help you pull those two things. Like, first of all, I want to toss the OCD out as much as possible, but just bring you back in alignment with your faith. There is hope. There's hope. You're not alone. Goodness gracious. I hear all the time people feel so isolated and it is heartbreaking. You're not alone. There are other people who are just like you, who've experienced the thoughts that you're having or the images that you're having, and there's hope. And you can get back to living your faith-driven life the way that you desire, and faith experiencing just the love and I don't know, all the freedom that comes with our ability to pursue our faith.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kristen. Thank you for that. And for all of your words and messages of hope tonight. And everyone can wave goodbye to Kristen and thank her for the amazing work that she does.
Thank you.
As we bring on our final guest tonight, Justin, who is, I think many folks on here know, Justin Hughes, who is a part of our Faith and OCD. Oh my goodness, Justin, on what?
Wait, what? Hold on. I was about ready to order Uber Eats. Where am I?
Patrick.
Okay, hey, something I have to call out right away is that, well, let me just say, congratulations to the Mrs. Reverend Katie O'Dunn. Let me just say that because it hasn't been said.
Thank you so much. You've been so incredibly, this whole task force, but you've especially been so supportive in our wedding and all of the things. So thank you, Justin.
Absolutely.
And we love Justin here at the IOCDF, and Justin's another one who has been kind of with the task force since the beginning and building out the website and conference and all sorts of different things. And oh my goodness, you are writing a book, you are a clinician, you are so knowledgeable on faith and OCD. Why is this work so important to you?
Thank you. Well, it's the people I keep on coming back to that. It's just a part of my origin story. Fortunately, not a villain origin story, but the positive origin story of working with OCD. It's been the people that have drawn me in, that keep me continuing to do this work. Sure, there's things about it that are interesting as a clinician. I think exposure therapy is fascinating. Human behavior is fascinating generally. But I really, really got into OCD specifically through the people. And I've found, especially with the faith intersection, that first of all, it's just important. And as it was said earlier by at least one person, maybe a couple, that it's not just a scrupulosity thing. It's not just when obsessions take a religious or spiritual or moral theme, but it becomes so important. And most people want to incorporate faith, spiritual matters, concerns, existential questions into therapy. And frankly, therapy is one of the best equipped environments to be able to do that. So merging a lot of those things together, and 10 more are part of the reasons why I'm doing this.
Well, and I know that you were doing lots for Awareness Week last week and plugging in different spaces. So as you moved through that and thought about OCD truths, I wonder if you have some faith and OCD treatment truths that you would like to share with this community.
Yeah, faith and OCD treatment truths. So, one is that let me bounce to scrupulosity. I'll comment about that specifically. With scrupulosity, there is associated lower insight into the symptoms. And to put that in very basic lay terms, they seem much more real. And it's harder at times to build the rationale and support a person in helping them to get behind, is this really a faith thing? And I don't want to go against my comment that the faith stuff becomes important for really anything, even if it's not scrupulosity. But that's one of those areas where it especially becomes important to be sensitive and to be great at asking questions and getting into the person's world. And so I think the OCD truth that I want to share is that success is very personalized, but you never suffer alone. We keep saying you are not alone. The success has to be so personalized that what you do might be such a distinct exposure that it's possible, but no one's ever done quite that exposure on the road with things sticking to the therapist's butt or whatever it happens to be. Like, okay, that mix of circumstances, who knows? I mean, statistically, we might hit that again, might not happen again, but it just has to be so personalized to the person. And that includes topics of faith, spiritual things. And I think it's really important to do that while we also simultaneously uphold that dialectic, pulling out all the words, that that doesn't mean that you're alone, you're the only one with it, that it's completely unique and it has to follow this completely separate course. Quite the contrary. The words, the expressions, the weight, the feelings of overwhelm are described oftentimes in the exact same words by different clients on the same day that I see. So you're not alone, but these things have to be really personalized, and that oftentimes involves issues of faith, spirituality, morality.
I am so glad you highlighted that. And through that, I know that you are already offering hope, but I wonder, especially, and no pressure because you're our last guest on here tonight before we close out, but I was very excited to hear your final words of hope for the community. I know that a lot of folks look to you in this community for so much comfort around faith and OCD. And of course, not reassurance, but affirmation that they can, in fact, get better and live a beautiful life in their faith. So what words of hope would you like to leave us with tonight?
The thing on my brain tonight is support, getting support. We all are at different processes developmentally. Sometimes that's age, sometimes that's stage, sometimes that's just where we are with a struggle or whatnot. But getting support can be way more accessible than it seems, even hierarchical, to use a very behavioral term. And that's crucial. Almost every story of success that I've come across involves some aspect, well, obviously a little bit of that's Captain Obvious, that if a person comes into therapy, they're seeking support. But I actually mean before walking into therapy, that even if it was just that article that was well-researched and accurate that the person came across, somebody had to create that and the person had to seek it out and be desperate, looking for solutions, looking for support, willing to even type into Google some symptoms, which can be distressing and kind of an exposure in and of itself. And the more that we shine the light on that darkness, the more darkness disappears. So support in whatever way that you can access it in a safe way, step by step.
Thank you, Justin. And thank you for shining light on all of us here tonight through the work that you do and for sharing your words of hope. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Katie.
So we're going to wave goodbye to, goodbye, Justin. And I'm going to close this out really quick. So don't go anywhere. I have a couple quick announcements. So the online OCD conference registration is now open. It's literally coming this weekend. I'll be there. I hope to see all of you there. You can visit iocdf.org/online-OCDcon to register. This year's conference will feature 2 days of virtual programming for the whole OCD and related disorders community. So please sign up. And if you're interested in the topics tonight, we have quite a few scrupulosity and faith and OCD related things going on there as well. Also, walks are taking place across the country. You can visit iocdf.org/walk to find a walk near you. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Finally, this live stream is one of many. You can see the entire schedule of future streams at iocdf.org/livestreams. And you can view recordings of past live streams as well as watch our hosts answer pre-recorded questions on IOCDF's YouTube channel, youtube.com/IOCDF. As always, remember to like and subscribe to get notified when live streams are scheduled. And just so incredibly happy to have all of you here tonight. And just want to close by saying, thank you. Matthew, you are the best. You all are the best. And this task force is the best. Of all the work I get to do, I would say probably my favorite thing is getting to do faith and OCD task force work, which is these truly amazing humans who care so deeply about different religious and spiritual backgrounds, different faith traditions, individuals who might not identify with a faith tradition in their journey with OCD to get back to the big, beautiful, awesome life they were created to live. So thank you to our task force members. Thank you to Brennan and our IOCDF staff behind the scenes. Again, thank you to all of you for being here. And would just love to close by saying that regardless of where you are in the journey, there is so much hope. I think you heard a lot of times tonight that OCD is a liar, and that is certainly an OCD truth, right? That regardless of what OCD is saying to you right now, of where you are in the journey, you are so deserving of a big, beautiful, awesome life. And I'm so honored to be on that journey with you. We'll see you next time.